Uno de los funcionarios de Donald Trump, Emerson Green, quien es el representante comercial de los Estados Unidos, compareció ante el Comité de Medios y Árbitros de la Cámara. Esto fue la semana pasada y fue interrogado perfectamente por los demócratas de este comité. Quiero hacer una mención especial específicamente al congresista demócrata Horford. Su interrogatorio a Emerson Green fue impecable. Otros demócratas también dieron un paso al frente. Ahora bien, Emerson Green se habría negado a testificar ante el Comité de los Medios y Árbitros durante aproximadamente un año. Y cuando finalmente testificó, esta vez los demócratas estaban preparados. Permítanme mostrarles lo que sucedió cuando el congresista demócrata Horford interrogó brillantemente al representante comercial de Donald Trump. Geert es el tipo responsable de implementar los aranceles contra el mundo que fueron declarados ilegales. Porque sí, son ilegales. Él es quien se supone que debe de estar involucrado en los reembolsos. Es, en mi opinión, uno de los mayores problemas dentro de este régimen. Bueno, entre muchos otros. Observen cómo el congresista Horford interroga perfectamente a Geert. Miren, por favor.
And I want to start with the people who paid the price for the choices that have been made over the past year. Ambassador, the Supreme Court has now ruled that these blanket tariffs are illegal. This hearing should be about one thing, getting the American people their money back. So let me ask you something that should be pretty easy, yes or no. Do you believe American families deserve refunds for the higher prices that they paid under tariffs the Supreme Court has now ruled illegal? Yes or no?
So I think
yes or no,
if we could get the Biden inflation of 12% back to the consumers, that would be a great start.
Okay, I will take that as a no.
Democratic attorneys general ask for the tariff revenue to go to companies.
Claiming my time.
It's what they asked for.
Since you can't answer a very basic question, yes or no, to the American people who paid the price through taxes that were imposed illegally by this administration. That's why I've introduced the Relief Act, to guarantee automatic refunds in 90 days. No games, no gimmicks, no applications, no red tape, no favoritism, just getting the people their money back. That is what this should be about, because families were paying more while someone else was profiting. And I want to move to that. At our last hearing, you said, and I quote, this is not market manipulation. But since then, we've seen a clear pattern. Tariffs are announced, markets move. A sudden reversal follows, markets move. And then the tariffs resume, one over and over again. Mr. Chairman, I ask for unanimous consent to submit to the record 10 articles documenting concerns about market-moving policy actions and trading activities around them.
Without objection.
Thank you. Ambassador, 18 minutes before last year's tariff pause, 18 minutes, traders placed enormous bets that the market would surge. And 46 minutes before the president's announcement on Iran negotiations just last week, someone shorted the oil market by hundreds of millions of dollars. Markets don't move like that by accident. And it raises serious questions about market manipulation and insider trading inside Donald Trump's administration. You told this committee that the original tariff pause was part of the plan. Well, if that's true, then that plan was worth billions to anyone who knew about it in advance at the expense of hardworking Americans. That's wrong. And it raises a very simple question. Who knew it and who profited off of the backs of the American people? It stinks. And at a minimum, it warrants an investigation. That's why I led a letter with 130 other Democrats asking for answers about the Liberation Day tariff pause. We still haven't received a response from you, Mr. Ambassador. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record the letter dated April 11th, 2025, into the record.
Without objection.
So, Ambassador, let me ask you, what steps have you taken specifically to ensure that no one under your supervision is trading on non-public market-moving information?
We have ethics rules that are imposed, and every government employee, whether they're a political or whether they're career staff, they have to follow these rules. Every year, those who are in high positions, they have to fill out a form that says what trades they have,
you're
and so we
saying
turn those in.
this is about a form. Someone
You have
with
to say what
access
you
to
trade.
your information is actively moving markets minutes before announcements. Existing safeguards are clearly not working. Instead of delivering relief to working people, this administration is allowing insiders to profit while everyone else pays more. Now, I want to move on to one last thing.
That's just not true.
You said in your last testimony that we would have 90 deals in 90 days.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
I don't think I said that.
I asked you.
90 days, 90 deals in 90 days.
That's
I don't
what you
think I
said. So how many do we have done?
We have 18.
18 of 90. In
didn't
my
say
book,
90 deals in
that is a failing grade. Your testimony gloats how you've made just as many trade deals during your tenure as free trade agreements since 1985, but you know better than anyone that those free trade agreements went through Congress. And if you don't know that, then we have a bigger problem. Because the reality is there is no trade agreement that isn't binding, that isn't enforceable, and that no one has the opportunity to review. None of them have gone through Congress. Meanwhile, they are costing the American people more. And to me, the American people deserve better. They deserve their money back. They deserve accountability for the market manipulation and the insider trading.
There's none of
They
that.
deserve transparency, and right now, they're not getting any of that from this administration. We deserve better. I yield back.
A continuación, quiero mostrarles el interrogatorio de la congresista demócrata Sánchez al representante comercial de Donald Trump, Greer. Miren, por favor.
Do you think the American people who have been paying higher prices because of these illegal tariffs deserve to be paid back too?
I reject the premise of this. When you look at things like
I take
eggs,
it-
it's gone down by 45%,
I take it that
smartphones down by 14%.
That's not the question that I asked. The question that I asked is, do you think the American people who've been paying higher prices because of the illegal tariffs should be paid back also?
Ms. Sanchez.
Simple yes or no.
They haven't been paying higher prices because of these tariffs. These
I-
wages have
again,
outpaced inflation all year
Sir,
long.
I have limited
All year
time.
long.
I have limited time. I'm not going to argue about that because I think most Americans can feel the higher prices. But the question is, do you think consumers deserve to be compensated for that? If you don't, just say no and we'll move on.
The Democrat attorneys general asked that the money go to companies. That's what they asked for, and now they have to.
Well, Mr.
take what they
Thompson
asked
has
for.
some, my colleague, Mr. Thompson has some legislation to try to refund some of that to the consumers who paid it out of pocket. And small businesses, you said, can apply for the tariffs. What about the small businesses who had to shutter their doors because they couldn't compete because of the tariffs? I've had constituents who own businesses tell me they've had to close their doors forever because they couldn't absorb the cost of the tariffs. And they're no longer in business, and they don't have the money to hire attorneys to try to get those refunds back. Mr. Horsford has a bill that addresses that. There really isn't any end in sight to these crazy tariffs either, because the president said he's going to reimpose the same tariffs using other authorities. All this begs the question is, why is the Trump administration so fixated on tariffs? I mean, he said that it was about bringing back American jobs, but that's far from the truth, because as we've heard over and over again, we've lost nearly 100,000 manufacturing jobs. So if Trump's crazy tariffs aren't supporting the American worker, who are they for? I want to bring your attention to the fact that it was recently reported that ArcelorMittal, a European steel company, gifted to President Trump $30 million worth of foreign steel for his White House ballroom vanity project. Last October, President Trump spoke about the steel donation at an event with billionaire donors, saying the European steel was great steel as opposed to garbage steel. Just 2 days after that speech, ArcelorMittal benefited from a new tariff exemption for steel and aluminum products. Ambassador Greer, do you think it's okay to grant tariff exemptions to companies in exchange for their donations to Trump's White House ballroom?
No, and I'm not aware of any.
Okay, can you at least agree that the White House, which belongs to the American people, should be built with American materials and not foreign ones?
I don't have a bill of materials for the ballroom. I'm not involved.
But I'm not asking if you're involved in that. I'm asking a simple question. Shouldn't the ballroom be built with American goods?
I mean, I think that we want to, be able to, not have the American taxpayer saddled with something and
with a vanity project for building a brand new ballroom that nobody asked for?
The president.
I see that my time has expired.
Okay.
So I will yield back before the chairman admonishes me.
I would never do that, Ms. Sanchez.
El siguiente es Tom Soucy, del gran estado de Nueva York. Miren, por favor.
Have you ever heard the expression that businesses crave predictability?
Sure, we've heard about that.
So I've talked to a lot of businesses, I'm sure you have as well, that talk about the fact that they're not sure whether to invest or not because of the instability, the volatility, the way the policy changes in this administration from month to month, even year to year. Would you agree that there's been some instability and volatility caused by the trade policy of this country?
We've certainly raised tariffs because before we had very low tariffs, so we had wild imports from China. We don't want that.
But
So we have been
would you
on
say
a
that the
process.
policy of this administration has caused instability and volatility in?
We saw some volatility last year as you're undoing 50 years of terrible trade policy, and we're fixing it. We're building up tariffs to protect the industries we need.
People have referred to the Trump turbulence tax, and there's a quote from Larry Fink from BlackRock, who I'm sure you know him, who said, "The United States post-World War II was a global stabilizer. Now we're a global destabilizer. None of it is needed to none of this needed to happen. This is not a pandemic. This is not a financial crisis. This is something that we've created. Uncertainty and anxiety about the future of the markets and the economy are dominating each and every client conversation." You've heard that quote from Mr. Fink before?
Well, I haven't read that, but I know Mr. Fink.
Yeah.
All I know is the market's hit 50,000. We're growing faster than any G7
Okay,
partner.
but you've
Manufacturing's
agreed
coming
that
back.
there's been
We're
some
winning.
instability and volatility that's been resulting from this policy. Let me ask you this question.
If you have status quo, that's a bad status quo. You will have a change if you're going to try to improve it.
Let me ask
It's
you
not
this
gonna have
question.
status
Are
quo.
tariffs increasing prices for the American consumer?
So I'm going to say no. We had a 12%
Okay,
inflation
so you
under
say-
Biden, and we are at much
Mr.
lower
Greer,
now.
so you disagree with the statement from the Tax Foundation that these tariffs are causing costs to go up $1,000 per household? You disagree with
I
that?
do disagree with that, yes.
And you disagree with the statement from the Yale Budget Lab?
The Biden Budget Lab, yes.
The
I
Yale
do. It's
Budget
all
Lab,
Biden staffers.
who says that this is costing each household $2,400
I do disagree
on an
because,
annual basis?
because they assume that it passes down. Right here, article from the Wall Street Journal, who doesn't like me, by the way, Trump's tariffs are being picked up by corporate America, not the consumers.
Okay, and do you disagree with the Manhattan Chamber of Commerce, because in New York things are more expensive, that this is costing each household $4,200?
I can't fix the Mamdani socialist city policy.
Well, that's not
sorry.
the Chamber of Commerce, but okay.
Okay, all right.
That's very clever. Okay, and how about from Moody's Investment Services? They say that these tariffs are raising inflation and the cost of living. Do you disagree with that?
I do disagree. These are the people who want offshoring, Mr. Schwartz.
And you disagree with the fact that Moody's also says this reduces jobs and reduces the strength of our economy?
We are the strongest economy in the G7.
So you disagree with Neil Bradley from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who says that these tariffs have caused significant cost increases?
So I will say that for some things that is true, because if we're getting subsidized stuff from China and we're trying to create a market price for intermediate goods, it could
Well, it's not
raise the
just
cost to
China,
a
it's all
market
kinds
price.
of different goods. And there's a lot of, you talked about, I think you called them the Biden Budget Lab or something like that.
Yeah, it's all Biden staffers
But
that
the
work.
U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Tax Foundation, these are conservative institutions that are saying that these are costing consumers, one said $1,000 a year, another said $2,400 a year, another said $4,200 a year. So you disagree with all of that?
These aren't conservative institutions, they're offshoring institutions.
What do you think I can say to the 92% of my farmers who say that they're worse off?
So first of all, we're aware of the effects on fertilizer, particularly for spot prices, which is what I think you're talking about. A lot of farmers were covered up in advance, some weren't, and those who are buying on the spot market are seeing increases. We get a lot of potash from Canada. That's all, duty free. We do a lot of phosphate here in the U.S. Nitrogen we do get from overseas, and that's where we're very focused.
Yeah.
I think
And there has been disruption with the strait being closed.
there has been disruption, yes. I mean, nothing is cost-free. When you have an Iran that's threatening to go nuclear, I mean, what's the cost of leaving that alone and letting them do it, right? That's a much higher cost to everybody. So
Well, we can agree to disagree. I think that Congress should have had the opportunity to know why we were getting into this war and what consequence, and have the opportunity to have a healthy debate about what the pros and the cons. Nevertheless, we are where we are right now, and I can't tell you with all sincerity how every day that I'm home, I hear something about rising prices. And so I think that it's important for us to know that wars have consequences. And I think all of us know that there are consequences, but I'm here to tell you, Mr. Ambassador, that the cost of food, fertilizer, the cost of gas, all of those are hitting the pocketbooks of ordinary Americans that I represent, and they really, really, really want the president to know that they're hurting.
A continuación escuchamos a la congresista Delben. Este fue su contrainterrogatorio. Miren, por favor.
And my understanding is that for each Section 301 investigation, the Section 301 committee and the Trade Policy Staff Committee will each produce memos to justify their actions. Will you commit to publishing these decision memos so that they're public and we can see the results of these?
I'll have to assess with my general counsel. Some of these things are deliberative in nature and so aren't subject to some of those disclosure rules.
Does the law prevent you from releasing those?
I'll have to look. I'll talk to my general counsel.
Okay, I'm not aware of any authority that prevents you from releasing those memos, and I think it's important for everyone to see the analysis to justify tariffs, because it's been raising costs for families by thousands of dollars each year.
Well, we will put out a report on our findings, to be sure. We'll have a Federal Register notice and people can comment. It'll be quite transparent.
And I know you think trade policy is working. I come from a trade-dependent state, but if you think it's been a good idea, then I think that, one, we should be coming to Congress. The proposals should come before this committee, and we should make sure that we are not continuing illegal taxation of my constituents and people across the country. Thank you again for being here. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Luego escuchamos al congresista Neil. Escuchen esto, por favor.
American families are struggling under the administration's trade agenda. Gas prices have gone through the roof, fertilizer has gone through the roof, and all the food that we eat and consume has gotten more expensive and about to get even worse. Mr. Ambassador, can you commit today to let the Section 122 tariffs expire without adding new tariffs?
Ranking Member Neal, thank you for your comments. The president, his trade policy has not changed. He's not going to go back to the old situation where we had no tariffs and we just let foreign goods made by foreign workers come in without any fee to the detriment of domestic workers. I know that Democrat attorneys general and Democrats here, they want to have that system. They want to have a system where there's no tariffs and all this stuff just comes in. But we're not going to have that, so the president will continue to have tariffs using appropriate legal tools.
Ahí lo tienen, amigos. En mi opinión fue un contrainterrogatorio muy, pero muy poderoso por parte de los demócratas. Hubieron muchas audiencias estas pasadas semanas en las que nos enfocamos. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Howard Lutnick, Chris Wright, que es el secretario de Energía, Scott Benson, que es el secretario del Tesoro, y esta pasó un poco desapercibida. El Comité de Medios y Árbitros no es lo más mediático que hay, aunque allí la verdad ocurren cosas muy importantes, y creo que vieron por qué fue tan importante que yo revisara esta audiencia, que de hecho duró como 5 horas. Les resumí lo más que pude, para mostrarles lo que consideré yo al menos los puntos más destacados. Era importante que lo viéramos. Formen sus propias conclusiones, no tienen que estar de acuerdo conmigo. Siempre quiero dejarles esto claro. Yo les doy mi opinión y la noticia. Siempre la noticia real y mi opinión real. Ustedes pueden opinar lo que ustedes quieran. Solo quería mostrarles estos clips sin editar para que ustedes mismos saquen sus propias conclusiones. Compártanlo con sus amigos, compártanlo con su familia, con amigos del trabajo, con todo el mundo, ya que es bueno saber qué opinan las demás personas sobre lo que está pasando, ya que como siempre he pensado yo, la mejor forma de saber si uno está en lo correcto o está equivocado es consultando con más personas, porque la perspectiva ajena siempre aclara más las ideas de uno, ya sea para bien o para mal. Y bueno, amigos, acabamos de llegar al final del video. No olviden en los comentarios ponerme su opinión al respecto, ya sea que estén a favor o en contra de lo que acabo de decir, o su opinión sobre lo que acabaron de ver. Y nada más que decir, mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarlos diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.